Welcome to another episode of the Palace Huddle Podcast. Here are your hosts, Rob Schwartz and Justin Onayemi, two Bears fans who decided talking into a microphone was better than shouting at their television.
Welcome in, House Huddlers.
Huddle up!
We still got it. 2 weeks off. We're still in the flow. We are, 19 days, I think, away from the draft. Something around there.
Depends
20?
on when you're listening.
That's true.
Wait a minute, actually. I think we're only 18 days away.
18?
The 25th, right?
The 25th.
We're recording this on April 7th.
Thursday night, Caleb Williams Day. We'll just declare it now. It's pretty obvious.
Well, we'll get into the more specific details of it, but we're going to be doing some mock drafts, and it felt so great that in every one, you're just like, yeah, we got Caleb Williams.
Yeah, it was super easy. Super easy. But this is episode 79.
You sound so excited.
Yes, 79.
You must not have seen
60.
the list.
No, 10. Yeah, 79.
You must not have seen the list of players with number 79.
Yeah, you read them off to me.
Oh, I just hope this episode is better than this list. So, to show you how bad it is, do you want to tell them who we decided on?
So we're going with the famous, probably one of the coolest characters from a Fox TV show called Prison Break, Michael Schofield.
All right. Well, you made that sound quite better than, than what we saw out of him. That was a big free agent signing flop for Ryan Poles.
It was.
And
I was
there
on
been
board
a few
with
of those on the offensive line.
But I was on board with it. I actually thought it was going to be a decent depth signing. Happened way after the draft.
You're right. We thought it was going to work. There were some injuries.
Yeah, him and Riley Reef.
Yeah, those both were flops. And, maybe you need to draft some guys. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Built through the trenches.
You got to. So do you want to explain how this episode is going to work?
Yes, this is actually Justin's idea. I thought it was a great one. Like I said, we're a few weeks away here from the draft, and the whole purpose of this is going to be there's no one way to take
eat a Reese's.
There is no one way to eat a Reese's.
That's different. Different episode. Different podcast altogether.
There's no one way for Ryan Poles to skin a cat. We'll just keep throwing these out there. There's no one way for Ryan Poles to attack this draft.
Absolutely.
There's many ways that he can go about it, and I know he only has 4 picks. We decided we were going to do 3 drafts and attack them completely differently. One of them, we only went with just the 4 picks.
Just the 4 picks.
Okay, no trades. But it still turned out pretty well.
According to PFF, which is what we used for our drafts, they graded that the best one of our 3.
That's true.
Now, I'm going to confess something. I don't know if you planned on confessing this.
No.
You weren't going to?
I don't know. I don't know where you're going with it.
Oh, I was going to say, the first draft we did was going to be our just take the 4 picks.
Yes.
And because of the way the board went, we were like, nah, let's do one of our other ones, and then we'll do the 4 only. But that's what Ryan Poles needs to see.
That's right.
How the draft unfolds dictates how you respond.
That's right. So, right now, the rumors are, or not rumors, these are straight up reports, that he's dividing his scouting staff into one group that's going to argue for an offensive lineman or offensive tackle, one group that's going to argue for edge rusher,
which receiver.
Specifically, he said defensive end, but I know Matty
plus Byron Murphy.
Well, Matty Eberflus left the door open a little bit for defensive tackle as well, and then obviously wide receiver.
It's not that obvious. Some people feel like because they traded for Keenan Allen, that's no longer a position to go after. You and I disagree with that.
We do disagree. So
you want to explain why?
The biggest reason is Keenan Allen's only here on a 1-year contract.
1 year.
Okay. Now, even if they extend him, DJ Moore is only here for another 2 years.
2 years.
This year's and 2025.
They're both pricey.
Exactly. So eventually a decision has to be made. Keenan Allen's 31, going to be 32.
And I love looking at it as, wow, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, you're 1 and you're 2. But Tyler Scott's your 3.
That's right.
Velus Jones is your 4. I mean, I don't know. You said Pettis, and I was like, oh, that's actually a good signing. So clearly there's not depth there that you feel comfortable with, especially when you factor in these guys are not here long term, and they're going to be pricey to extend. So we still think, particularly if the big 3 If any of them are there at 9, it's tough to pass on them.
Yep.
But we went through different iterations, and sometimes we didn't get one of the big 3, and still we're pretty happy with what we landed.
That's right. And we used Pro Football Focus simulator for this. I will say, and we're just going to put this out there right now, the biggest flaw, and we've talked about it now for the last couple of years, that Pro Football Focus has with their simulators, you cannot see what players are still on the board when you are not picking. So if you're trying to trade up, it makes it very difficult to know who am I trading up for, especially in those later rounds. Like obviously in the first round, you have a mental idea of
and
who is
you're
still
going slow
there.
and you're tracking each pick.
But as you get deeper into the draft, it makes it a little bit more difficult.
So we're going to do a total of 3 mocks. At the end of the episode, when you've listened to it completely, go ahead in the comments, say which one you thought was the best one. If you hated them all, tell us why. Yeah. We love the comments. We love likes. We love subscribers.
Yeah.
We're still doing a giveaway.
Yeah, we're 149, excuse me.
There you go.
Subscribers.
It wavers a little.
But yeah, so hit that subscribe button. We're going to be here all off season, all next season.
It'd be great by regular season kickoff to already have that giveaway wrapped up. Yes. Somebody will get a nice, beautiful jersey. Maybe it's a Caleb Williams jersey. Yeah. That's probably the one I'd go for. Is he going to wear 0? I think I heard he wants 0.
So it's my understanding that the Chicago Bears will not let anyone wear the number 0.
I heard. I don't know what. You never know what's a report and what's just somebody typing something up. But something like he would like to wear 0, and Ryan Poles kind of being like, I'll make that happen.
I mean, if
why
you're
wouldn't you
let somebody do it? You're going to let it be him. But we all know that DeAndre Swift wore 0 last year, and he is now, I think, wearing number 2. I don't know. DJ Moore.
DJ Moore's 2. I was like,
I can't remember what number he chose, but it's definitely not 0.
Yeah. All right. Well, he's a special type of guy. But anyway, I think we should get to it.
Yeah. So again, we know it's going to be Caleb Williams because he's only taking apparently 1 visit.
0 other visits. That's the
right.
jersey.
There you go. And maybe that's the negotiation tactic. All right, so we're just going to...
In addition to going through the drafts, I think part of it is going to lead to some natural conversations of the bigger picture. Yeah. So we'll just kind of weave that in.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so with our first pick of the 2024 NFL Draft, Rob and Justin for the Chicago Bears. Nice.
I don't know.
No, that was really good. I was like, yes, that's awesome. Select Caleb Williams, quarterback, out of USC.
I've heard of him.
Out of USC, yeah. Now you go into the highlights and you hear Mel Kiper's voice going. It's fantastic. Okay. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, you can see we got a nice little graphic up here. We have this for most of the players that we're going to be going through. But we're not going to touch on Caleb Williams every single time. No. We know he's our first pick in all 3 mock drafts, but let's touch on him now. He is got an elite arm, okay? He's got a quick release, something that Justin Fields struggled with. His ability to make off-scripted throws, his ability to make off-platform throws. Everyone wants to give him that Patrick Mahomes type comparison, and that's part of the reason why is his ability to make those types of throws. He keeps his eyes downfield. He is got great pocket presence to the point where when he moves around, he's not just trying to run like Justin Fields, but he does have the athletic ability to run.
Yes. Can I just say something here? I don't see it on your list. I want to throw this in there. It's not just arm strength. I also think it's arm talent. And what I mean by that is the ability to sometimes put touch on the ball when necessary. So I think those are 2 different things. So I would add that. But he already has a very long list of strengths, so we couldn't possibly add all of it.
Yeah, and the one other thing that I'd like to point out is his ability to throw with anticipation. Okay, we've talked about for the last year and a half, Justin Fields struggles with anticipatory throws, right? Yes. He can't get the ball out fast enough until the receiver is open. And sometimes when he does that, it's too late, and then it either leads to a turnover or a sack.
And can you imagine that trait with DJ Moore and Keenan Allen?
Right. Yes. Woo. I mean,
that's fun to think about.
It's going to be awesome. The one thing, though, a couple things he needs to work on. He does hold on the ball too long. Again, a thing that people are like, oh, it's just Justin Fields all over again. He holds the ball too long, too. The big difference here is his team was letting up 30-plus points every week.
Trying to make this home run
hero ball.
Yep.
But he does need to take the check down at times. Like that is something that he needs to work on.
In one of our mocks, spoiler alert, he can hold it as long as he wants. You know which one I'm talking about, right? He'll have a very good line.
Yes,
let's put it that way.
It's a very interesting development that took place.
Yes.
Kind of threw us off our game a little bit towards the back half of that draft.
That might happen to Ryan Poles on draft day.
It could. The other thing he needs to work on is when he is running with the ball,
protect it.
Tuck the damn thing, please.
But that has to be able to be coached.
I sure as hell hope so, because that was a big issue for him in college.
Right.
Big issue.
But it's funny, you kind of mentioned it already. A lot of his weaknesses do match up with things that we complained about with Justin Fields.
Yes.
However, I think his list of strengths has a few extra, and he's a new project that you get to play with. He's a better prospect coming out than Justin Fields was.
If you're new to this podcast, I need to put this out there. I am a huge Justin Fields fan.
As am I.
Okay, I was a supporter of him. Justin was a supporter of him. Down the line, after the season was over, Justin was ready to move on a little bit sooner than I was. But no one here thinks Justin Fields is a bad quarterback. He is a starting quarterback in the NFL. Honestly, I think you've said it multiple times. He has a good chance of winning that job in Pittsburgh, right, and supplanting Russell Wilson. So we are not here to bash Justin Fields at all. So if you're a Justin supporter, I know there's a lot of you guys out there. Look, we have to move on because the Chicago Bears moved on.
Yes.
Right? So it's our job now to look at the future. Caleb Williams is that future.
Ryan Poles has to construct an entire team,
yes,
an entire roster. And there are a lot of decisions that go into that, lining up when these contracts start hitting in. And to be honest with you, resetting the clock, bringing in your own QB as a GM, these are common practices.
Yeah.
Had Justin Fields torn things up, earned a Pro Bowl, and had the Carolina Panthers ended up giving us pick 6,
right,
maybe we're not having this conversation.
Or even if Justin Fields was going into year 2,
right,
instead of year 4,
right,
it might have been a different story because we're looking at a different QB contract clock, right?
So it's not just we didn't like Fields, we love Williams. There's more to it than that. All right, so he was our number 1 pick in all 3 mocks, but are we going to talk specifically which mock this is?
Oh, wait. I got a trade alert. Trade alert. Okay, there's 2 trades here, and this is just going to kind of piggyback off what Justin was about to say. This is not obviously our draft where we just used the 4 picks.
Yep.
This was not, again, we had 3. So we also had draft for needs, right? Like if we saw, okay, we're going to make a decision based on what we actually need. This was more based on best player available.
So in this situation, and I've seen a lot of people's rumored mocks, you and I disagree on how realistic it is, but if I recall, this was all offensive players were taken.
It was all offensive players.
There might have been one, the corner, Cooper DeJean might have gone. I don't recall.
No, I believe maybe, but
it was
we'll see actually later on.
Basically, what happened was when we went to pick at 9, the big 3 receivers who we might be interested in were gone.
Correct.
Joe Alt was gone.
Correct.
We've talked many times off the show that those are kind of the 4 players that it will be very hard to pass up on.
Yes.
Should they be available at 9. But once none of them were, you're looking at a lot of guys that you'd be okay with. But here you see you can trade back and potentially, first, get more assets in the draft.
Yeah.
Still early in the draft, I want to point out, because this is not a very deep draft.
No.
It's one of the reasons we think Ryan Poles, who says he wants to build through the draft, was okay having only 4 picks, because 3 of them are in the top 75.
Yeah.
And he traded the 5th, which in his mind is
Ryan Bates.
No value for Ryan Bates, who some people think, he's not good enough. He's an upgrade over Lucas Patrick. You gave up a 5th, which is meaningless in this draft, according to what a lot of people who know a lot about the depth of this draft are saying.
And the 6th pick that they had is now Keenan Allen.
I'll take that.
And I'm sorry, even on a 1-year rental, when you're bringing in a rookie quarterback like Caleb Williams and giving him that player to help with his development, you do it.
Absolutely.
You're not going to find a Keenan Allen in the 4th round.
So in this situation, Bears trade with the Bengals.
Yeah, we tried to trade down to
20.
No, we tried to trade down into the teens. We were trying to 13.
To the Raiders at 13.
Yeah, but we couldn't get a trade to work. The Bengals actually called us, so we took advantage of them. Got a 1st, a 2nd, and a 3rd in the deal.
Because that's far to go. From 9 to 18. 9 is a top 10 pick, a blue chip type player.
Yes. Hard to do. Hard to walk away from. But again, the board didn't fall in our favor. So we moved down to 18, and there were none of the top 3 edge rushers were available. We wanted Jared Verse, we wanted Dallas Turner, and if we needed to, we would have taken Latu. None of those 3 were available. So we looked at the board and we're like, all right, can we move down? If we move down again, is there still going to be players that we like? There were some names still on the board. So we took that chance. We actually gave back to the Cardinals.
Which they may have to do. They may have to be creative because from 9 to 75 is a big gap.
Right.
And that's what we realized. So we made another trade.
Yeah, we
went all the way to 27 in the first, but
we
also got
up.
35.
Right, we moved
up in the second.
Right to the top of that second round.
So like the day 2,
and then we got another additional third. So now we have what? 5 picks in the top 75, top 80, top 80. Okay.
And we were thrilled with who was still available at 27.
We were thrilled with who was still available at number 27. Dun, 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 dun! Brian Thomas. Okay, he is not my QB4. I will admit that.
Receiver.
I'm sorry, receiver, wide receiver 4. He is not my wide receiver 4. I saw the LSU and thought Jaden Daniels. My wide receiver 4 is Troy Franklin. Troy Franklin was available, but this is a team effort. And Justin and I talked, and Justin was higher.
So he's blaming me
on Thomas. However, I will say Thomas and Franklin are in my same tier, so it wasn't a very difficult persuasion, right? What we love about Brian Thomas, he brings great elite speed, right? A deep threat, great size. He does a great job catching the ball over his shoulder.
Touchdown machine. Yeah,
big play. 17 touchdowns last year. What I worry about with him is he does have a limited route tree. But that also was based on play design that LSU was using him with, right? Like when you excel at something, you take advantage of it, right?
Absolutely.
So he's great at go routes. He's great at cross routes. If he gets his hand on the ball and he's at full speed, he's going to get plenty of yak. He does struggle at times if you're going to get him with some press coverage to get away from the cornerback who's jamming him up at the line. My other issue that I have with him is he's a one-year wonder. Kind of reminds me of Kevin White in that.
Oh, that's
regard,
not who I thought you were going to say.
Right?
But that's okay.
But okay. Kevin White dealt with some injuries, and hopefully that's the reason why he struggled.
Yeah.
They picked him
at number 7, I want to say.
Yeah, it was number 7.
27.
Huge difference in risk, in a cost risk analysis here. But I will say he kind of reminds me of a bigger, what I wrote down in my notes is to me he's a bigger Ted Ginn Jr., right? He's just a bigger Ted Ginn. And then in my mind, I'm like, you know what? He could maybe be more kind of like a Christian Watson. What's funny is Player Profiler has him as a comparison to Christian Watson.
Interesting. Well, I mean, the types of things you emphasize as strengths of his and the types of things you pointed out as weaknesses, I feel like you slot him in an offense where there's DJ Moore, there's Keenan Allen, there's Cole Kmet, there's Gerald Everett.
He doesn't need a full route tree, by the way.
Right. You let him be. I mean, again, they try to do gadget plays and things like that for Velus. I'd much rather see a guy like this out there running, 9 route down the field if necessary.
He has a really strong cut ability. His hips are fluid. He's able to make that quick cut and gain extra yards, which does show me that it's possible he could develop that route tree.
Well, and that's a good wide receiver room to be learning from too.
Correct.
So
all right.
We were thrilled to get him at 27. So then our next pick wasn't so far off. It was pick 35.
Pick 35, which I should have put the picks up here, actually. That's my bad.
It's okay. We'll make sure to say it if we can remember.
Yeah, we'll remember. Pick number 35.
So we missed out on those edge rushers that we really liked. We missed Verse. We missed Turner. We missed Latu.
But Chop Robinson fell.
He did.
Which, I mean, I have Robinson as a late first rounder. He's a late first round grade. He's a little bit on the smaller side, but he's got an explosive burst to him off the line. He's got a high motor. He just never quits, which is something I think that Ryan Poles and Matty Eberflus will really like.
I'm not going to put words in your mouth. So if I'm wrong about this, please correct me. But did you compare him? Some Bears fans are not going to like this, to Yannick Ngakoue.
I did not. But
who were you referring to at that? Do you remember? Where it's more of just a pass rush, not a complete.
Oh, when you and I spoke, yes, I
okay.
did. Yes. Okay. He does not do well against the run. He's more of a pass rush specialist. However, he can stay in the game. Well, I shouldn't say stay in the game. He can also be used on passing downs.
To drop into coverage.
Yes. Yeah, he has that ability.
A little bit more of like an outside linebacker skill set.
lot of people are comparing him to Micah Parsons, but
that's a tough one.
I don't see it the way that other people do. I don't know if it's, Parsons was from Penn State too, right? So I think that's just kind of like the lazy analysis.
So, I mean, he wasn't in that top tier, but he's not that far off of it.
No.
And to get to play across from Montez Sweat.
Yes.
It is one of the probably biggest glaring needs they still have.
Yes.
As well as interior D-line, where they have invested draft capital in the past. The big type guys for those also weren't going to be available at this pick.
Correct.
And it can be addressed later in the draft. You're not going to ever solve everything in one draft, especially when you come in with only 4 picks.
Right. Okay. Let's go to...
So do you remember how far it went now? So is this 75 or... Yes.
Yep.
PFF did not like this.
PFF did not like
They
this.
have Michael Hall Jr. Ranked probably around 104 or so, and we were picking him at 75. But we had already addressed wide receiver. We had already addressed edge. We still felt like interior offensive line was a need. But when we looked at who was available, Michael Hall stood out to us. I believe we kind of looked at RAS score. I don't know if you have that readily available. We know the Bears really do put an emphasis on that.
Correction.
And
this was actually pick number 66.
Really?
Yeah, 66. We had gotten that in a trade down. So third round pick 66.
I didn't think it was that early.
Yep.
Oh, no wonder they hated it.
Yeah. Yeah. But here's the thing. He's my defensive tackle number 3 based on the fact that I love him as a 3 technique, right? Like, the problem is when you grade defensive tackles, you got to also kind of separate them from 3 technique, 1 technique. Maybe they're a tweener or like.
Well, Tavondre Sweat is a little more of a one technique.
Right.
And when we did this, we didn't know, but he was just in the headlines for being arrested.
Yeah.
The kind of thing that can happen sometimes in this draft little window here, but leading up to the draft, that's clearly going to hurt his stock, I would imagine.
This is not a Laramie Tunsil type situation.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so Michael Hall, explosive off the line, very reactive, is able to use a counter move here and there, gets a backfield disruptor, whether it's in the run game, whether it's in the passing game, has another guy with a high motor.
And we think he'd be going to play alongside some guys that have some talent.
Yeah,
so.
and he'd be a rotational guy, right? Like, you're not expecting him as a third rounder to come in and just dominate right away. Even what's the guy from Georgia from last year?
Jalen Carter.
Even Jalen Carter worked a rotation. It's not like he came in and played every down.
Bob Weiss was on our show, I think the last time or maybe 2 ago.
Yeah.
And said something really smart, which is the D-line is basically rotation based.
Yes.
I mean, you want Montez Sweat in there as much as possible.
Correct.
But there's going to be, you don't just think of it as you got your 4 guys.
No.
You better have 7.
Yeah.
That you're moving around and moving through.
Even Montez Sweat should only be playing 60 to 70% of the time.
Right.
So some of his weaknesses, he's got a little bit of a smaller, undersized frame. So that's why, to me, I think he can really only play 3 tech. He will struggle at times against getting off blocks, especially if he's double teamed. Things that he's just going to have to bulk up a little bit. He's going to have to build up that counter punch type, not counter punch, more like actual pass rush moves, right? Like he's able to hand check and make moves, counters with his hands, but he needs to be able to like get that spinning gear. When do you do the swim? When do you do the chop? Like those types of things he's going to have to build on.
I think when you say like kind of add to your frame, get bigger, that's the type of thing I feel like the step from college to pro can really help you. And now some guys maybe don't do it as much as others.
Right.
Some are gym rats type of players, and that's the thing, they scout that we don't.
Right. And it could be a little bit less with a guy who's going to Ohio State versus a guy that we might talk about here. We will talk about here towards the end of this draft.
Okay.
Now, this is pick number 75. We got the Bears as center. Okay. I know a lot of people are really high on Cedric Van Pran out of Georgia. He's athletic. He's got the ability to move laterally. He's scheme versatile. He's got a high football IQ. He was a center at Georgia the whole time, which is a little bit different than Jackson Powers Johnson, who was only a center for 1 year.
Prior to the 2023 season, he was projected as like the number 1 center.
Correct.
So, now I think there's maybe 3 names you could throw above him. Others had gone at this point.
Correct.
But he has the ability to really be special, I would say, and he wouldn't have to come in and start right away. Although certainly if he were to earn that job,
yeah,
it'd be great.
It's funny because you say that in my weaknesses, I actually could benefit from sitting for 1 year, which I think could happen here with Chicago. And he's still my third center on the board. He's one tier down from Zach Frazier and JPJ. He leans a little bit forward too much at times, gets kind of off balance, can lose leverage there. But he's an all around, I think, a good player, and he played against some high level competition.
Yeah,
and played well. So to add him here shows me that you're investing in a position that has struggled for the last few years.
Yeah, it would be nice to have a long-term solution at that position and not keep patchworking it.
Yes, exactly. All right, we're going to move on to pick number 80. We're going to speed this up a little bit.
Yeah, we got to hit the gas. Oh,
this is my guy. I don't even have to read this. I talk about him so much. Brendan Rice, I love the idea of bringing him in the later rounds, pairing him up with Caleb Williams.
Well, and we already picked a receiver earlier.
Yes.
But since it wasn't one of the big three, we thought, hey, why not take two shots at this?
Yeah, exactly. Brian Thomas does have some risk to him, right? In my opinion, just based on history. Those guys either boom or they bust.
Right.
So let's hope he booms. But Brendan Rice is a very different type of receiver. He's a possession receiver, kind of like his dad. His great hands.
Let's hope we keep saying kind of like his dad, right?
Great hands, amazing body control. The way that he toe taps on the sideline, toe taps in the back of the end zone. Great red zone threat. Fantastic ability to play off script with Caleb Williams. Right,
familiarity.
Comes back to the ball. Great with scrambling. His downside is he's not physical enough, especially when trying to make contested catches. He does have some focus drops, especially on catches that are going over the top of his head. It even happened at the pro day. I was like, this is the one thing I don't want to see. And then I jinxed him because like 2-3 throws later, he dropped one that he should have got. But adding him here would be fantastic.
I got nothing else to add to that.
All right, let's move on to pick number 122 and the last pick of this mock draft. Cooper Beebe out of Kansas State. Okay, this is the guy I was kind of hinting at. Like, he's very strong base, quick hands, another guy with a high football IQ. He's got a lot of power. But again, a guy that might benefit coming to the NFL. You know, Kansas State's not one of those top programs. So like coming to the NFL and like getting that conditioning and strength training would be fantastic for him. He wouldn't be needing to throw in right away, so he can just kind of sit behind Tevin Jenkins, Nate Davis, Ryan Bates, whoever else they decided to throw out there. And my biggest knocks on him is he keeps his pads up too high at times and kind of loses leverage. Another guy who kind of gets off balance at times, especially leaning forward a little too much in the passing game. But once he gets his hands on you, it's kind of hard to get him off.
Well, we believe that the Bears have a really good offensive line coach. And so, again, if you can get some guys as depth for now, for the 2024 season, they're depth. But for 2025, maybe these guys are slotting in. Tevin Jenkins is in a contract year in 2024. Plus, he's had major injury history. So we definitely want to see them add to the interior of the O-line depth piece, but possibly future starter down the line.
So as you can see, we got an A grade. And we're just going to move on.
So should we do a break and then do the other two, or do we want to do the second one a little faster?
Yeah, let's do a break. Let's just run through the next one. There's only 4 picks.
Okay, so the next one was where we just stuck with the 4 that we had.
Yeah, if you guys are watching at home, you guys can see I kept it up there a little bit. It's got the first round. You can check it out. Hit the rewind button, hit the pause button.
So in this version, we stuck with the 4.
Yep.
I wouldn't think that this is how they would approach it, but if the board falls a certain way, it takes 2 to trade.
Yes, it does take 2 to trade.
Just because you want to trade back or you want to trade up doesn't mean you can. So this is the scenario where you just have pick 1, pick 9, a long break to 75, and then 122.
And I think the big key to this potentially happening, is if one of the guys that they want at 9 falls.
Yes.
Because if one of those guys aren't there, I'm moving back.
Exactly. But if they are there, the chance to get a blue chip player that you like that fits a need you have
Correct.
is too huge to pass up.
Correct. And that's what happens here. Again, we're going to skip Caleb Williams. We already talked about him. Boom, he's on the board. Who's he going to play with? Oh, look at that combo.
I like it.
Look at that combo. Rome Odunze. This guy is an alpha dog, right? We saw him at the combine, the way he talks about himself, the confidence. The guy
didn't he stick around
beast.
like after he ran his cone drill? He didn't like he wanted to get a faster time,
Yep.
so he just kept running it.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of interesting. I don't know if it means anything at all, but it shows his
work ethic,
competitive nature and things like that.
I think him paired with Caleb Williams, learning from Keenan Allen and DJ Moore.
Wow. And this becomes, that safety for if you lose Keenan Allen next season, you slot him right in. And hopefully his rookie year, there's still a lot to learn. There's a learning curve to go from, even if you're great in college, to go straight to the pros, there's a learning curve.
Right.
I know some people have talked about, did JXN in Seattle get enough opportunity and touches with a Shane Waldron offense where he was clearly their third option at receiver, as much as they like to use the tight end? I don't want to act like I know that that's exactly what Waldron will bring to the Bears, because I hope there's still consideration for your personnel. But if your rookie year, you don't get as many opportunities or touches, but you learn a lot about the intricacies of the game, and then maybe Keenan Allen does move on, you slot right in to that opportunity to see a big increase in your year two.
Well, and that's the big thing too, is like those, again, we talked about those guys might not be here. It doesn't matter really what his first year stats are. I mean, as long as we're seeing enough on film when he is getting those opportunities, and it is, kind of a league now where 3 receivers are needed. But just wanted to pull it up, like Jackson Smith-Njigba still finished with 628 yards.
How many targets?
93.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's plenty.
He had some drop issues at the beginning of the year.
He had some injuries too.
He had some injuries at the beginning of the year. He only had 4 touchdowns, which I know wasn't great, but
okay. I mean, if Odunze comes and plays and gets 90 plus targets
and 600 plus yards,
I'd love to see
as a wide
what
receiver
that leads
3.
To. Oh man, the type of numbers we could potentially see are some that we've never seen as Bears fans. I would love this.
And when I talked about Brendan Rice with the body control, this is another guy who has great body control, great at high pointing the ball, doesn't have as big of an issue with the physicality that Brendan Rice has.
I don't know the exact statistic, and maybe you do, but there was some crazy statistic about his ability to bring down competed balls. Like
I want to
he
say
only dropped 3 balls in the whole season.
I actually thought it was only 1.
Okay.
For some reason, what's sticking in my head, and someone fact checked us on this, but I think it was 44 or 45 balls.
Okay, and only didn't come down with 1 or
Correct.
something like that. That's insane.
Yeah, it's completely insane. Again, catch radius, big guy. He's fluid. His route tree is fantastic. He's a better route runner than Brendan Rice, obviously. It's why he's
taking him at 9 instead of 80.
Yeah, exactly. He does need to improve on his separation off the line of scrimmage when he's being jammed, but these are things
he'll be getting covered by a slot third corner
exactly.
or
exactly.
a safety.
Rome Odunze.
All right.
I would love this.
So now no picks until 75.
No picks. We took a nap.
Whoopsies.
Well, we did this draft before.
Whoopsies.
Devondre Sweat got arrested. Again,
I don't know anything beyond that, by the way.
Sure. So. Again, we're going to let that play out. Maybe he falls to the 4th round now. We get him at 122. Who knows? But before that happened, we did want an Andrew Billings replacement. Again, we talked about rotation. It's not like Billings is out there that long. Right. These guys are big. They need that rest.
Yep.
The one thing that is a knock on Sweat is his conditioning, so he'll definitely need some rest.
But that's the rotation, like you said.
But he's a 1 tech. He's a nose tackle. He's going to be the guy out there
eat up blocks.
He's going to take on those double teams, but he has a quick first step. He's got the ability to. He's going to be a 1-gap type guy, but he's got the ability to get into the backfield at times.
Right. Disrupt.
Kind of reminds me, and he's a bigger guy, I think, but kind of reminds me of like how Eddie Goldman played when he was good, like those first 4 years before he decided to retire and unretire. Yeah, he is.
I don't remember Goldman's
he's
size.
Massive. He's massive.
Huge.
He's massive.
6'5", 366 I'm seeing here.
Yeah, he's
a
rare athletic.
Is that Vince Wilfork size or
maybe?
I don't remember.
Was it Ted Washington?
But he was kind of shorter.
He was shorter though. Yeah, he's got height too. But he's got so the rare size, but still able to get. I could see him still coming away with 3-4 sacks in a year.
Yeah. Well, and he plays a position where it's not so much about your stats.
Right.
but the effect you're having on
correct
closing gaps, forcing people towards plays.
Correct. All right, we got one more pick.
One more pick, 122.
Boom. Trevor Keegan. This guy had a top 30 visit with the Bears recently. A lot of times we would see his name with Cooper Beebe, and we were kind of between the two. I know Keegan's had that top 30 visit. They both have similar RAS scores. Keegan's is a little bit higher. I don't think he did the 3-cone, which is my favorite drill. Like I'm underwear Olympics. I hate it, but like there's certain drills I do like for certain positions, and 3-cone's my favorite for that position. Where Beebe had a really good score. I don't think Keegan did one. But again, a guy who's big, powerful.
Played for a team that ran the ball like crazy.
Yeah. And okay, so I think playing for Harbaugh was very important here for him from a development standpoint, because I want to say he was a 5-year starter or 5-year senior. I don't know if he started all 5 years off the top of my head, but his technique and his fundamentals are sound, right? Like you could tell he's very well coached. And we all know Harbaugh likes to run the ball. So like he's going to put an emphasis on running. He's tough. He's a mauler. He's athletic. To land him here in the 4th round would be fantastic.
And just like we said with Beebe, he wouldn't have to come in and start.
Right.
But a year from now, this might be a player you'd want to start.
Yep.
Depending on how things go with Tevin Jenkins and whether the Bears would be extending him.
Yeah. Now, couple things are very similar to Beebe too. He has an issue with his pad level at times. He lacks an elite bend to him, but if you're playing on the inside, I don't think you need it as much. His hand placement can be off at times too.
So that was it for this draft. And PFF liked it even better. I don't know if you have that, but they gave us an A+ on that.
I do. Hold on.
Oh, you do have that?
Okay. I hit the wrong button. I will make it even better.
Boom. There it is.
A+. And look at that catch by Rome Odunze.
Oh, wow. So limited number of picks, but where those picks are, you can still get very, very talented players.
Yep.
And, clearly there's going to be some undrafted free agents they're going to have to bring in, things like that. But to get Caleb Williams, to get Rome Odunze, and then 2 other players that we think would be rotational players, both on your O-line and D-line.
Yep.
If you only have 4 picks, we did a lot with those 4 picks.
We did. And now we're going to take a break.
Yeah, we have to take a break. The second half won't be as long.
It will not be as long, but hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Please leave comments. That's all we got to say for now. Enjoy these ads.
And we are back. Halas Huddle, episode 79.
79?
This is the Ryan Groy episode. No, I'm kidding. The names were rough, but this is the Michael Schofield episode. More importantly, it's an episode as we're leading up to the 2024 draft that we're all very excited about, have been excited for months now.
Yep.
But it's getting close, so we wanted to do a mock draft, but the twist is we did 3 different versions, and so far we've shared 2 with you. In one of them, we traded back at 9. There's a lot of talk about will the Bears actually pick at 9? The way the board fell, we decided to trade back, get more picks. We filled that out and got some players we were pretty excited about. I would say that draft was successful, should that be the way the Bears choose to go. We then did a second one where we just stuck with the 4 picks they're going into this draft with, 1, 9, 75, and 122. We have one more that we're going to share, and once we do that, we'll kind of talk overall big picture and let you decide which route you hope the Bears go.
Yeah. Remember to make those comments. Tell us which one you like the most.
Awesome.
All right, let's get into the next one. No shocker here.
We'll take Caleb Williams.
Caleb Williams. Dun, 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 dun.
Now, wait. There was a shock, though, in this next one.
There was
a shock. We were not intending. Well, we just wanted to kind of see how the board fell.
BPA.
And respond and go best player available.
I'm sorry, not BPA. This was our needs draft.
This was our needs.
This was our needs draft. Yeah.
It kind of was a mix, though. We said before there are 4 players you cannot pass up at 9.
Correct. And one of those players fell.
We were shocked. And this is the one where I said, Caleb, hold on to the ball as long as you want.
Yeah, because you know what? Now you have an elite swing tackle.
In Braxton Jones?
Because
Joe Alt fell to number 9.
Joe Alt. Are you kidding me?
That's
a
blue chip player
like
at a crucial position.
Yeah.
You would have him in line with Caleb Williams in terms of, you'd have him in line on the same time scale of when you'd have to pay them, which could actually hurt you in the long run, I guess.
Yep.
But in the short term, it's wonderful. He just had a beastly performance throughout college.
Yep.
Obviously, we know he played at Notre Dame, so going up against pretty good competition. But his numbers, I mean, did he even give up a sack this season or even a pressure?
I don't have that information in front of me. I'd have to dig that out, and we don't have enough time to
That's
do
fine,
so.
that's
But I
fine.
will talk about the fact that some people are concerned that he's too tall.
6'9", I believe.
6'9". I call bullshit. And this goes to Adam Hogue. This goes to Josh Lucas. I call bullshit. I'm sorry.
I was once accused of being too tall.
Yeah.
It was in that episode where
That's
Bob was
right.
over here and I was sitting in front.
Dr. Truth. Okay, so he's 6'9". Okay, and that could be a problem as far as you got a 6'1" quarterback, and is it going to be hard for him to
But you're off on the
see
left
over
side.
him, right? Okay, that's not what they were talking about. Their concern is that people are going to get in up underneath him, and he's going to lose leverage. Guess what? The guy doesn't do that.
He's got great feet.
He's got an amazing base. He's got good bend. He's got a huge wingspan. He keeps guys at bay. It's not going to happen. And if it does, it's going to be very rare occasion.
If you're 6'9", you're used to blocking guys who have pad level beneath you.
Yes.
All the time.
I'm sorry, but hearing that was just, we get to the point in the offseason, and we did it with Caleb Williams. It's all these prospects where we just nitpick every little itty bitty thing, trying to knock them down. Look, Joe Alt is the most elite left tackle prospect in this draft.
And I was going to say, you could probably look at the last 10 drafts, he'd be pretty high up on that list.
Yes.
So to have him at 9, we just could not pass him up.
No.
It kind of seemed like, what if this draft we just keep our 4? But hey, you're getting a blue chip player at a premium position.
Yes. And again, he can still improve in areas. He can improve his kick slide. His kick slide is not elite. He can improve it.
And this helps Caleb Williams big time. Now, Braxton Jones, we think, you and I, and you less than me, I think, think he's a serviceable starter in the NFL at left tackle at a premium position.
Yep.
But if you have the chance to upgrade to a guy that you think is a future All-Pro, future Pro Bowler, I don't want to say future Hall of Fame. He hasn't even done a snap in the NFL. But the type of prospect he is at that position, there have been guys that get drafted and go on to long, long careers where they're dominant.
In my opinion, there are 3 positions that no matter what, you upgrade if you can.
Quarterback?
Quarterback is one of them. We watched them try to do it this year.
Right.
They're trying to do it. They moved down from Justin Fields. They're trying to upgrade with Caleb Williams.
So quarterback,
defensive end.
I was going to say left tackle next.
If you need an edge, I'm not putting him in order.
Okay.
But if you need an edge rusher, right, you try to upgrade. Or you need 2 of them, so you just
there you go.
Right. Left tackle is the 3rd one. You don't just accept good.
I thought you were going to say kick returner.
No. We got Bayless. We don't.
New kick return rules. That's all I'm going to say.
We don't just accept good. We want elite.
Yes.
And he is an elite prospect. It doesn't mean he's going to be the elite, but he's an elite prospect with 3 areas that I think he can improve on still at the next level: his kick slide, his hand fighting, and his strength. Strength and conditioning, again.
Yes, that comes. But I can't even imagine, I feel like his floor is still very, very high. And I get that Braxton Jones was a 5th round pick, I believe.
Yes.
So to get a guy that is, top half of the league-ish at a premium position in the 5th round, awesome.
Yep.
But here you go. Blue chip potential. We didn't pass him up. I don't know. The Bears would have a tough time passing him up, I think, too.
I would hope so. Sure as hell hope so.
So we were still open to trading in this draft.
Speaking of trades,
and here we go.
Okay.
We didn't like that big gap between 9 and 75, and especially knowing that we are really focusing on the various needs that we have. We were thrilled to get Joe Alt. I wouldn't say that was totally a position of need,
No.
And so then now you're like, oh man, we need more picks. This was awkward. So you want to explain what happened?
I'll explain it. So we got thrown off our game with that Joe Alt thing, right? We got thrown off our game.
I was going to blame PFF, but
we paused it in between day 1 and day 2, in between day 2 and day 3. Like we kind of reset our thoughts, right? And then
how they do in real life.
Exactly. Then we'd start up again. We took the approach of, okay, we're not picking again until 75. Can we move up now and give ourselves a reset and try to think, what positions can we fill now?
And in real life last year, and I'm only going to speak to last year's draft. I believe this could have happened in others as well. But there were some trades made prior to the second day of the draft starting.
Yes.
So that's what we ended up doing.
Correct.
No picks had been made, but we decided to trade up. We tried to get Carolina's
32.
Yeah,
right?
33.
Or 33. Yeah. First pick of the second round. We tried to get that pick. We couldn't get it to work.
Carolina was pretty bitter. They don't like trading with us anymore.
Yeah. So we're like, look, we'll give you your second round pick from last year or from next year that you gave us last year, right? You get your second round pick in 2025 back and you get 75. We're going to move up.
They have 2 picks
39.
Right.
Yes. We got their second of those. And then they threw in a 5th rounder for us.
So do you remember who
we threw in a 5th rounder.
For this one, we had our eyes on defensive end Broswell out of Alabama.
Yes.
And we were really hoping at 39 he would fall to us.
Yep. And it was
Guess who went at 38?
Yeah.
The guy we thought we were going to trade and get at 39.
Yeah. Another defensive end. Had that edge rusher would have made me feel even better about this draft, by the way. But he, like Justin said, went 1 pick ahead of us, and it just, things like that happen.
It does happen.
So
you pivot.
Look at Aaron Donald. I mean, I know it wasn't like the same situation like this, but like 1 pick away.
Right.
1 pick away. So we pivoted. And this is why it looks weird, because then we traded those picks that we just got, the 39th pick overall, the 141. We literally just gave them to the Steelers. And then
they owe us.
They owe us. So we got 3 picks out of it. We moved down to 51, but we got another 3rd rounder, and then we got a 4th rounder. So,
all right. So now, rather than your next pick being 75, our next pick ended up being 51, about midway through round 2.
Hey, we already talked about this guy, Michael Hall, right? Again, probably a little bit.
They really hated this.
They hated it. It's a bit of a reach here. Obviously, you're taking him early, but here's the thing. You got your guys, you go get your guys.
Right. And there wasn't as much depth at this position.
No, to me,
on the board.
You go get this guy. By the way, I need to put this out there. I don't think Byron Murphy is a Chicago Bears fit. The guy is 6 foot, 6 foot and a half. If you want to give him that half inch. If you look at the guys that Matt Eberflus has had at defensive tackle, you get the guys that they've drafted, 6'3", 6'4", 6'5". You are not going to see them to bring in a 6 foot defensive tackle. I don't care how good some people think he is. It just doesn't fit what they've been doing. I don't see it. So anyone who thinks Byron Murphy at 9 is an option, I'm sorry, I just don't see it.
Okay.
But I also said Darnell Wright wasn't a fit last year, and he's the right tackle.
Wow, him and Alt together.
Right?
I'm okay with that.
All right, we're not going to talk anymore about Michael Hall. Boom. Oh, hey, Cooper Beebe.
Not going to talk much about him either.
No. In fact, I just want to pull up.
So what pick was this, though?
That's what I wanted to pull up really quick.
Okay.
So that first one was what, 51?
Well, does this involve? No. I know what happened. You don't have a slide for who we picked at 51.
Oh, that's right. I ran out of time.
I was going to say Michael Hall at 51 was not as good as I thought.
Oh, I just effed this up completely.
That's okay. Sorry. Retract. Go back. Before we drafted Michael Hall, at 51, we were able to get Keon Coleman.
Yes.
So this was the draft where now we were surprised Alt was there,
yes,
but we still hadn't addressed wide receiver. And to get a guy like Keon Coleman at 51, we felt was good value.
Yes.
I don't know what receiver he is on your board, but he is a tier
receiver,
2, right? Tier 3, maybe tier 2 or 3.
He is receiver 6 on my board. The last guy who I actually have a first round grade on. He is some people automatically think that he's like a go up and get it type of guy, like a contested catch type guy. He was in 2022. He kind of fell off in that regard in 2023. He can still do it. He's going to be a guy who's going to go up and get the ball.
Similar size to Odunze.
Like when I think of him, like I think his like top level would be like what we saw with oh God, I'm blanking on the damn receiver. Allen Robinson when he was here with Mitch Trubisky.
Okay.
Right. A guy who's like, if you force feed him the ball, he's going to get it. But
which wouldn't be his role immediately.
No. But he has the ability to get some yak yards too. Where I felt like Allen Robinson, every time he caught the ball, just fell down. But yeah, so I didn't get a chance to do a slide.
I already feel a lot better that Hall wasn't our 51st
Yes. Oh my
pick.
God. Oh, don't. I hope you guys didn't like hit the.
So when we go to the end of this, you'll see our full slide.
Yes,
then you can properly grade us. Even though PFF still didn't like the Michael Hall pick, they would have shut down the site if we picked him at 51.
Yeah, looks a lot better. Okay, so going back, Michael Hall was our pick at number 84.
Okay, 84. That's 84. Better than even the other time we drafted him.
Yes, 84. I think we had 66 last time. Cooper Beebe is now our pick at. No, we have a pick in between this too. Again, I didn't have time to do a slide. Justin Aboigbe. I don't know how you pronounce it. I'm horrible at names, guys. He is an edge rusher, kind of like could be a 5 technique, could be a defensive tackle, but
he can move in and out.
Yeah, he's got some versatility out of Alabama. I haven't looked into him enough yet. And I know we're still only a couple weeks away, but you guys, this is not my full-time job. I apologize. But he is a guy that like kind of fits the Gervon Dexter type build to me. Like he can play inside and outside.
And I think we were kind of looking into him, and as we often do when trying to project what the Bears might do, I think he had a high RAS.
He did.
Yep. And so that always kind of says, if this guy's got athletic ability, we'll coach him up.
Right.
And especially when you look at what Eberflus seems to have going with his defense, to give him a big athlete who can be versatile on the line, I think that's something the Bears would love to coach up.
Yep.
I don't know where they're at with coaching up Dominique Robinson, but that wasn't this regime's pick.
No, he's got to go.
So,
all right. So there we go.
All right. Much better than we thought. Okay. So that Keon Coleman made a big difference in how you might view this and how you might view this draft. So we got another A. I think Alt's an A+ at 9, but we'll take the A.
Yeah.
And this is an A overall. So if you look at the 3 drafts, not just going off of PFF, but how we felt, I'd be very thrilled when you look at not just the offseason moves the Bears had made with trades and free agent signings, but either one of these 3 drafts would make me feel very, very excited about the potential in 2024, and not just that, but the years to follow.
Definitely.
I don't know that we need to talk that much here. We'll love to hear what you guys have to say.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that really we should keep in mind is there are a lot of ways they can approach this, and they're going to have to let what happens on draft days, not just day one, but the days that follow, kind of dictate and determine what they do. And of course, as always, as I love to say, they have so much more information they're working with.
Yes.
They might like a guy that's got a 4th round grade and who they think, could really help their team.
Here's a perfect example. Laiatu Latu is now scheduled to have a top 30 visit with the Bears. I would not touch him personally because I don't have access to his medicals. I don't have access to that information. If I'm told by my medical staff that, hey, there is nothing to worry about with his neck fusion.
He medically retired 2 years ago, or was it 3?
3 years ago.
3 years ago.
But he's been fine for the last 2.
It has been productive.
And he's an elite prospect. If he's medically cleared by my medical staff, hey, I'm going to trust my medical staff. I'm going to trust the guys I brought in. I'm going to trust Ryan Poles if he takes him, right?
So I guess if you look at all 3 drafts, one thing that maybe you might have been disappointed in, I don't know if you were, we never landed like your Jared Verse.
No,
who also we ended up with Chop Robinson in 1.
Yeah. But again, Chop Robinson's had a top 30 visit. Jared Verse is not. So it's possible that maybe Chicago doesn't like. Maybe they want somebody who doesn't fit the same profile as Montez Sweat. Because when I look at Jared Verse, I see a guy who plays similarly to Montez Sweat.
I'd be okay with 2 Montez
Sweats. Oh, I would be too. But maybe they're looking for
a yin and a yang.
Exactly, a yin and a yang. That's a great analogy there. I like
Thank you. I'll take credit for yin and yang. All right. Well, we'll stop talking so that you guys can. We'd love to hear what you think of this, and I hope you're as excited about what's coming for the draft that the Bears have positioned themselves nicely for.
Yeah.
We'll do one more episode before the draft.
Yeah, I'm going on vacation on Wednesday. I will be gone. And then we are going to do.
And then we definitely will have to do back-to-back weeks because I think
Yes.
once the draft happens, we're going to want to react to it
Yes.
and do a post-draft episode as well.
So next week, I think the plan is to try and do one mock draft that
Predicting-
we try to predict
Most likely what the Bears would do. But
Right.
we're still dependent on the board that happens in our
Correct.
version,
Correct.
which can really change.
Correct.
What we talked about, and I
Maybe
know we
we
said we're
won't-
going to end.
Maybe we won't do a mock. Maybe we'll just talk to positioning. Like,
Okay.
what positions are they going to target at each round?
Okay, that could be. So just to one more thing, we were wondering, would PFF do a lot of the trades that you hear people do, and people when they do their own mocks have 4 quarterbacks going, picks 1, 2, 3, 4, Vikings trading up for JJ McCarthy? We didn't see a whole lot of that.
No.
In fact, and maybe people can see when they look at our screen that shows the whole first round, there were many when I think there were only 3 quarterbacks taken the whole first round.
Yep.
But when you look at mocks that people are putting out there, there's like 6 going, and the first 4 picks are all quarterbacks.
But
Now that helps the Bears in terms of who will be available at 9, but how realistic is it?
I will also say that I guarantee, okay, I put a bet out there. I guarantee that there will not be 4 quarterbacks, 3 wide receivers, and Joe Alt off the board by pick 9.
What would you do in that situation? Trade back?
If that happens,
Yeah,
you're trading back.
Trade back and still try to get a guy like Jared Verse.
Correct. You're going to try to get one of those top edge rushers. That's what you would do. However, again, it's not going. The history shows that it's not going to happen. You don't see three. And hey, I made fun of Adam Hogue earlier, but Adam Hogue is another one who has said this. Granted, I've been saying it for a while too, way before I heard him say it. So I'm not going to just give him full credit here. And I know he's not listening to the show, but I know some of you guys who listen to CHGO do listen to the show. I've said for the longest time, like, there's no way that 3 receivers are going to go in that top 10.
I get it. And
Like, it just doesn't
historically, that's
happen.
not how it works.
Right.
But the wide receiver position is coming on strong. It's especially as
It
you see
is.
the running back position getting kind of phased out. You're seeing guys coming out who are just very, very polished.
But
And
also,
I think in a year where Marvin Harrison Jr. is available, had he not been there, you'd be looking at Neighbors or Odunze as potentially like top receivers. So that right there makes you think, okay, maybe 2 guys are worth a top 10. And some people are split on who, when you rank those 3, you get people with different 1, 2, 3s.
I get it. But like we saw, Jamar Chase obviously go early. I think he was pick number 5. But then we saw
Justin Jefferson
go in the 20s.
yeah.
Right? Like
something
it just happens. It just happens. And there's teams out there that they'd rather have the corner to defend against these guys.
Yeah.
And not enough people are saying corners are going early.
Yeah. So we'll just have to see. The Bears will have to be ready to pivot based on what happens, but it's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
And you just have Caleb Williams.
That's
In
right.
all of these
That
scenarios,
makes-
you're just like, we'll take Caleb Williams.
That makes the whole thing
So-
feel so much better.
I like it. All right. Nice job, Rob.
Bear down.
I think that was better than the list of Bears 79s. Check out that list. Have a vomit bag ready.
Oh, wrong one.